In this video, we discuss about the perceptron. The neurons in these networks were similar to that of McCulloch and Petty's model. Learning of this perceptron model was simple and automatic. Example of proper behavior is represent to the network where it learned from its mistakes. Generally, perceptron has a LTU, linear threshold unit. If result is greater than threshold, then output is 1, otherwise output is -1. The linear separability is also a condition in this perceptron. If the input vectors are not linearly separable, the perceptron may not be able to achieve a perfect classification, and some input vectors may be misclassified. And now here these are the how the human brain has the nerve cells. These are the dendrites, axons, and the synapse. The synapse is the point of contact between the axon of one cell and the dendrite of the another, regulating a chemical reaction whose strength affects the input to the cell. Actions are triggered when a specific combination of neurons are activated. Each neuron acts as a computational unit, accepting input from the dendrites and output signals through axon terminals. Here we have x1, x2, these are the inputs, and these are the weight vectors, and these are the weighted sum. After that, if we have bias, we can keep the bias, and here we provide the activation function. Why this activation function is used? This activation function will decide whether the neuron's input to the network is important or not in the process of prediction using simpler mathematical operations. We have four activation functions. First one is sigmoid. Sigmoid activation function has 1 by 1 plus e power minus z, and tan h e power z minus e power minus z by e power z plus e power minus z. And ReLU and leaky ReLU are the another activation functions. Artificial neurals are simple computational units that have weighted input signals and produce output signal using the activation function. This activation function, here we have different types of an activation function: neurons, inputs, and output. This is the multi-layered perceptron. Here it has the hidden layers, output layer and the input layer. Why this multi-layered perceptron is used? This single layer perceptron can only express linear decision surfaces. Multi-layered network can express a rich variety of non-linear decision surfaces. Information from here to here, it would travel only in forward direction in these networks, no loops. It is generally called as feed forward neural networks. And we update the weights from the when we get the error. If here generally we use the target value. If the target value and the output is not same, then generally we use the back propagation. We discussed the back propagation in another video, how this back propagation was came. And from this back propagation we update the weights of from the back hidden layers, and then the bias and training process is also updated. Applications of the perceptron: it is used for pattern recognition problems, classification, image and speech recognition. And I want to say one thing, that how this was used for the image compression. The idea of image data compression in neural network is to store, encrypt and recreate the actual image again. We can optimize the size of our data using image compression neural network. It is the ideal application to save the memory and optimize it. Weights, bias and output, linearity of fitting.